Hi everyone, it's Maddie.
And I'm Amber.
And we're Witches Talking Tarot. I'm really excited about today's subject. I feel like I say that every single time.
I do,
but I am excited to talk about all of these.
Yeah, I was going to say we say that every time when we're like researching them.
Right, exactly.
We can't wait for every episode, guys. We just want to share with you.
Right. So we're going to be talking about the fairies, the little girls in, what's it called?
Cottingley.
Cottingley. I can never remember.
Which is the English word for stream.
Yes. The Cottingley Fairies. And these are photos, and they were taken in 1917 through 1920.
Yes.
And basically they kind of took, I don't want to say the world, they took England by storm. Basically, these two little girls took actual photo evidence of fairies.
And why are we doing this episode?
Because I like fairies. Oh. Well, also, this is a story that I hold very dear to my heart. Like, growing up, my sister and I were constantly looking for fairies all the time. Like, this is no joke. Like, I totally believe we contacted fairies. We may not have been able to see them, but they were there. They were absolutely there. So we played with fairies all the time. As a matter of fact, we had books that addressed this particular story as well, but multiple ones that had all this information on fairies, the different types of fairies, the things that they left as offerings, the things that they left you. And it was so much fun, and it was something like we grew up, we moved around a lot, but fairies were always there. Right, exactly. So
I'm curious, you had multiple books on fairies. Did any of the children's books on fairies that you had, did they talk about like the dark side of the fae that you learn about as a pagan?
Yeah,
I'm just curious.
Sometimes. You know, I think there was one that addressed that if you make a fairy mad, it turns from a fairy into an angry creature, and they could totally destroy your house. It didn't address things like, oh, it'll kill you.
Or it'll don't give it your name.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
It'll have power over you.
No, it did not address that.
I was just wondering.
They were more happy fairies, but then there were the don't make them angry, because if you make them angry, and then there were illustrations, and you'd have this pretty fairy, and it'd get really angry and turn into this fucking horrible creature, and it was great.
I wish that it was like one of those.
It was. One of them was. That's what. There was one.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Like everybody who can't see this has no idea.
It's a pop-up book.
Yeah, a pop-up book where
one of them was.
Little thing
and it also had little things that you would open up, and it would have for example, the pictures. These pictures were in a little envelope, and they were little copies of the pictures. I don't know what happened to it, but it was. I loved it. My sister and I love it. We still talk about fairies with my nephew. I fully plan on teaching my children about the fairies. It was very fun. We had a friend who would play with the fairies with us in this little wooded area. It was great. It was great.
Awesome. I love that.
So this story, love it. Pop culture. There's a movie on it in the that came out in the 90s.
Yeah,
it's a little different than their true story.
Yeah, like I didn't know about this story really until you brought it up to me, which is why I was like, oh, that would be a great podcast episode, and so would The Green Children of Woolpit,
going
because
together.
This story made me think of that one, right?
Right.
But then as I was researching this story, I saw that movie was based on this, and it came out when I was a kid, and I do remember that movie. Yes, a fairy tale.
It's called A Fairy Tale, A True Story.
Right, and but as a kid, I sure as shit did not believe it was based on a true story.
I did.
And as I explained to Maddie, child Amber didn't give a shit about plots.
Right.
So I did not retain the plot of these little girls that played with fairies. I just vaguely remember this movie that I saw like once or twice.
I loved it.
Little girls that played with fairies. But when I was doing the research for this that I read, I was like, oh, so I had heard about it. I just didn't put two and two together.
We loved it. It was one of our favorites. But anyway, so the story, the true story.
Yes.
And I guess it's a little bit in the movie, is that Frances, 9 years old, was she 9?
Yes.
Came from Africa.
South Africa.
To live with her cousin.
In England.
I
don't remember.
Elsie? Is that how we... Elsie. It's because of the spelling, you know?
Right, yeah.
But Elsie. And Elsie was 16 at the time, I believe.
Yes.
You know, which is weird because I had read one thing say that she was 14, which makes no sense.
Well, see, that's where I said, like, I'm not sure if, like, it ended when she was 16 or if it started started when she was 16. Because I thought I read somewhere about Frances being 7 at one point. But then everything else said her at 9 and Elsie at 16.
We'll just go with 9 and 16.
Yeah, because I couldn't find anything with her at 7 and Elsie at 14.
Well, that's what I read mostly at the 16.
Yeah.
I was like
mostly read 16 and 9, so that was what I wrote.
So they were out playing in a fucking beautiful ass backyard.
Right?
Lucky bitches.
Yeah, I want I want a stream to go down to. When I was a kid, I had a stream to go play in.
Fucking waterfall, dude.
Oh, I know. Like a stream.
It wasn't a stream. It was
Spotify can't see my air quotes, but stream has extreme air quotes.
Yeah, like seriously, like this. There was like a fuck. It was
beautiful.
It was the beauty
I guess we'll have
to
put some pictures on our Instagram.
Right, that's a good idea.
The stream as well as the pictures.
Right, because I mean, the UK has beautiful.
Oh yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Topography? Is
not
that the right
something
word,
we would see around where we live. I don't think.
I do. Like,
you think so?
Yeah, out on 7th on the way to Galena. There is this gorgeous waterfall that just like comes pouring. Like when there's a lot of rain, it's just pouring down.
Oh and my god, like, that fucking area in Anderson. I'm sorry. And they said when it rained, it was a waterfall, but we unfortunately went there when it was dry. That is a fairy fucking grove. If I've ever.
Absolutely.
The energy was just.
Fairy. Yeah.
I love fairies.
Absolutely.
Anyway, sorry. I'm probably going to say that a lot. Let's be clear. I understand fairies are dangerous, and we don't want to fuck. I want to borrow that.
Like
or is this like an occult novel? It's Healing with the Fairies by Doreen.
Virtue.
So is it good? Because I'm over here looking at it.
Read it entirely.
Messages, manifestation, and love from the world of fairies.
Yeah,
I'm definitely gonna have to take a look at that.
Yeah, for sure. But like, I loved fairies until I learned about.
Disclaimer.
And as I've stated in previous episodes, I am blonde and forgetful.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I don't want to fuck with shit that's going to be mad at me for being who I am.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Disclaimer, don't go out there and call the fairies because you think they're absolutely fucking amazing, wonderful creatures, because they're tricky and they're,
But to be blessed by a fairy circle of mushrooms or a fairy circle of pink ladies, like, that is an absolute honor.
Well, I
do appreciate them. And I love the fairies and I honor them, but, like, I ain't trying to work with them too closely. But at the same time, like, I can totally feel their presence in places that they are obviously there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So let me explain. I personally, as a witch, I do not fuck with the fairies in my craft. They are not involved in my spellcraft. They are not involved in my magic. But like you said, I can see them. I can honor them when I can.
Right.
I can acknowledge them and their beauty, as well as at a big distance.
Right.
But I
used to have fairy stuff all over. I used to wear a lot of fairy jewelry.
Oh, I love it.
And then
I probably would.
Then once I learned that alternative piece, I was like, shh, dog. Duh. Am I playing with fire? Like, I'm not to want to fuck with shit. And like I said, I'm a forgetful blonde, and do I want to be punished for being who I am?
So my personal belief, just because we're talking about fairies when it comes to fairies, is if you're not invoking them, or, creating altars per se for them and using them in, well, maybe not altars, because I think altars are okay. But, like, if you're not using them in your spellcraft or to your energy working, I think you're okay for the most part. But the problem is, like, when you petition the fairies for something,
the Fae Mafia.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to fucking do that.
Yeah.
So I'm all for wearing fairy lore, having like our fairy jewelry, having fairy things. They're very beautiful, but I'm not about to invite them into my craft work at all.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, no. And I didn't even mean that. I just mean, like, it's been mentioned to me on more than one occasion by just, like, having their icons about that is, like, inviting them in. And when I don't acknowledge them, then, like, that's not me. Like, I'm not that I'm in the wrong per se, but in the eyes of the Fae, I may be wrong per se. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't taught, like, yeah, because I wouldn't really work with them because I would,
right. I'd be
not to say that I'd be afraid.
Yeah,
but
I find myself a little afraid of fairies, but I think it's healthy to have a healthy fear of things like that.
I do too, because like when you learn something, like if you give this creature your name, it holds power over you. It's very Rumpelstiltskin vibes, for one, which is a story of warning, right? I'm sure, on multiple levels.
So would you do a fairy meditation? I do fairy meditations. I do where I'm like going on a walk in the land of the Fae. And,
for sure.
I love those.
Yeah, I could definitely dig that. That would be quite the
I love fairy meditations.
Fun internal visual.
Oh my god,
yeah,
we need to.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah,
okay.
But it's the beginning of the month. Good.
Right. We
granted
we
this airs in the middle of the month, but for us it's still close to the beginning.
We got a minute.
We can write it, and we got time.
Okay. Is that going up this month or next?
This month.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, we gotta do that.
Yeah.
Anyway, they don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, but if you want to know what we're talking about, go check out our Patreon.
Right. Maybe you'll get
bio.
Fairy meditation of your own at some point.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll be really fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, on the original topic of the girls.
Yes.
So basically they're out playing in this beautiful fucking like stream, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I imagine it's like covered in moss and it's like gorgeous.
They're having fun, and then like mom's like, girls,
it's
dinner.
And this
ding, 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 ding.
bitch comes in. Is that American?
I thought it'd be funny because I'm like,
what's European?
Because I was like, pretty sure English moms. Well, I don't know. They're moms in the countryside. They probably did go to the back door and be like,
ding, ding, ding.
Elsie, Frances. I can't do English accents. So I'm not trying.
Okay. Anyway, so she comes in her sneakers, or they didn't have sneakers, whatever. Their feet, the hem of their dress, whatever the fuck they're wearing, is all wet. And she's like, why is this all wet? And she's like, well, bitch, we were playing with the fairies. Yeah. She's like, okay, fairies. I don't necessarily believe you. Nice fucking try.
Right. And so they're like, oh no, you will believe us. We're going to go get you some proof.
Right, exactly.
Be right back.
And
BRB, guys.
First, we got to steal Dad's camera.
Yeah. So off they go to Mr. Wright's little hobby photo studio or whatever, and they snag like whatever you need back in 1917, which is more than just a camera, I'm sure, because like photo plates are talked about. I don't know how that shit works.
Oh, it's like a dark room.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Like,
and then they come back with a fairy photo.
Yeah.
A photo of Frances with multiple fucking fairies.
Yeah, just dancing around her.
Yeah, she's
or
like,
in front of her, I guess.
In front of her, right?
Around, yeah.
She's like, told you. And the dad was kind of like,
wait,
those look like cutouts to me.
And then he's like, where'd you get the fucking camera?
Right, exactly. Right. They're like, I don't know. But the mom is like, oh my God.
It's real. Elsie's mom specifically,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my fucking God, it's real. And then they're like, take some more photos with a gnome. I think the gnome was the next one. The gnome photo is real. I believe it. I choose to believe.
I choose to believe.
I choose. Like, it's real. I don't know if that's just because I'm so clouded with my childhood memories, but it's fucking real. I choose to believe. I mean... Don't look at these photos and be like, oh my God, that's fucking fake. Because you're wrong.
That's right. Like, when you brought it up to me and the first time I looked at it, I read about it and I told you, that shit's fake. Like 1,000,000 billion fucking %, it's all fake. None of it looks real. And then I looked into it more and I read about it more. And I looked at the photos and I blew them up. And then I looked at my husband and I said, Corey, they look like little... live cartoon characters in the picture.
They're moving, yeah.
And then I was like, I guess by saying they look like cartoon characters, I'm saying, the cardboard cutout thing, whatever, but at the same time, they look like live cartoon characters,
right.
Like we have those movies now.
Like they're moving.
Where it's the cartoon and the real animation, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And that's what the pictures look like to me when I looked at
like
them,
happy.
Yeah, exactly.
So they continue to take more photos as time goes on. And the mom does what?
Elsie's mother is a member of the Theosophy Society, and Theosophists, Helena Blavatsky.
Okay, what the hell is philosophy?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm like, what the fuck is that?
So Helena Blavatsky, it is her theology that she came up with after studying like Eastern religions as well as like pagan religions and things like this. And she's Russian, which is why I'm like super excited to tell you guys about this. As I told Maddie, I was like, it brings up Helena Blavatsky, who I like have listened to a couple podcasts on and read a couple things about, and she's a character that interests me. So Theosophy is the theory that we are currently evolving as people, and we're evolving toward a next level.
Right, yes.
And the reason that the Theosophists really dug these pictures when Elsie's mom took them to the meetings was that they saw the girls being able to see the fairies and communicate with the fairies
as a form of
evolution and us moving into that next step.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Now I know what you're referring to.
Yeah. So.
And then there was like a photographer, a professional photographer as well. I think his name was Harold something.
Was it Harold? Gerald? I don't remember.
Gerald's about to come into the story. Okay. Harold's a different. Gerald is the guy that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
Okay.
We're getting there, y'all.
Okay, my bad. I didn't realize there was also
Harold.
My brain didn't remember
Schelling or Harold.
Snelling. Yes. Okay, I do.
Something
remember.
Like that.
I forgot his first name.
He sees. He studies the photos. These are authentic fucking photos. Like, it's not physically doctored. Like, they actually took a photo.
Whatever's in this photo
is in this, really there.
Right.
And then he also stated that the way that the light hits the photo, it looks as though the fairies are moving or jumping or moving around. There's a blur to it. And he goes on to say, these are authentic fucking photos, yo.
Yep. And two other entities, the Kodak Film Company, and another film company that was like smaller, like Eloso or some shit like that. They both examined the photos and they both said they are not doctored in any way. They are authentic. However, Kodak did refuse to give a letter of authenticity. Right. Because they were like, we don't want to get fucked up in that mess.
Well, and the thing is, like I was telling Amber, the photos can be authentic. That doesn't necessarily mean what's inside
exactly.
the photos.
And that is what a lot of the people that said the photos were not doctored said. They said the photo itself has not been doctored. What's in the photo we can't say is real or fake.
Right.
The photo itself has not been altered in any way, shape, or form. Yes. Neither have the glass plates that were used for it. Whatever.
Right, exactly. Then, somebody really famous kind of gets involved. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. One of my favorites. He wrote the Sherlock Holmes. Love Sherlock Holmes. I actually have the collection back at my house. I went through a stage. First of all, Benedict Cumberbatch. Yes, please.
I am sorry. I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, so you say Sherlock Holmes, and I hear in my head, for everybody watching on YouTube who saw me just laughing while you're saying what you're saying, it's, no shit, Sherlock. Dig deeper, Watson. Every fucking time. I can't hear the word
It's
Sherlock.
so funny because he never said that. But
absolutely not.
I mean the dig deeper, Watson thing. But like the no shit, Sherlock. I love it because Sherlock's like all like super. It's like duh. But like anyway.
Right. He's like no shit, Sherlock.
Just gotta say personally, I adore the modern adaptation. You should check it out. It's on Netflix. It's called Sherlock. It's got Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman, an amazing cast.
I want to check out the Lucy. Isn't there the Lucy
Elementary? I like both. Most people like the UK version better but it's drastically different.
Okay, so the Elementary has Johnny Lee Miller, who was in Hackers, who I was convinced I would marry.
I love Johnny Lee Miller. He's super cute as Sherlock. But they have different concepts. Like Elementary is more Law and Order, more SVU, like continuous, different. Whereas Sherlock is more modern adaptations of the exact novels, like not the case of Irene, like Irene Adler, the woman in pink. Oh hell yeah, bitch! And it turns out they were hallucinating. Okay, And then it turns out that
I gotta check it out.
No,
You said
please
it's
do.
on Netflix?
It is on Netflix. Please do. The first one is
Before we cancel Netflix, because fuck Netflix.
dude, they bring in Moriarty. That fucker is awesome.
Michael Moriarty?
Oh fuck no. Like the bad
it's a
guy.
character.
The bad
Okay,
guy.
my bad.
Moriarty.
Sorry, I was picturing an actor.
No, it's
because,
okay.
Like, he's from the original Law
So
and Order.
Sherlock's like the counterpart to Sherlock, because he's like a famous detective. He's very rich. He's not very rich. He's very smart.
Right.
Same very smart. Same smarts. But a villain is Moriarty. He's in the books.
Okay.
This.
Never read the books. Like, let's be clear.
Oh no, that's fine. This fucker.
I read all of the Nancy Drews though.
He is so evil, but like so smart. He breaks into fucking like the palace and steals the crown jewels, or wears the crown jewels. And he tells Sherlock the whole time, he's like, you should see me in a fucking crown. And then he wears a crown. Like,
Do they play Billie Eilish? You
no,
should see me in a crown?
she wrote that song because of
that?
Sherlock.
Oh,
yes,
God.
she did an interview and she said, I loved Moriarty. I loved that scene. So I wrote, you should see me in a crown. And that's why the whole lyrics are like so evil. I'm going to tear this fucking town down. Because that's what Moriarty does.
Oh my God.
Like, it's so good.
Okay.
It's basically
I
a
just outed myself as listening to Billie Eilish.
it's fucking great. Like,
Yeah.
it is. But Elementary's good too. But they made Moriarty a woman in Elementary,
nice.
just like John. And Moriarty was Sherlock's like ex-girlfriend, and she's so evil. But he didn't know when they were dating. Bitch, just watch. I went through a stage in middle school and high school where I was obsessed with Sherlock Holmes. So that's why I know all this.
Yeah, fair enough. Hey.
And I got Bryson into watching Elementary. I may watch that when I go home, when I go to bed. It's actually pretty good. But it's all of them. Hounds of Baskerville, The Woman in Pink, or Red, I guess.
I'm most familiar with the Hounds of the Baskerville because I just love the name because of the dogs in it.
Oh, yeah.
My dad liked Sherlock Holmes.
I'm pretty
But
sure.
that's not one of the things I watched.
The modern ones
My
are
dad is like a huge influence on my interests, like Aliens, my dad.
Have you
Horror
seen the
movies,
Robert Downey
my
Jr.
dad.
one? That's fun, too. He did one that's not modern.
Oh, yeah. Have I seen it? Not sure. Do I know of it? Yes.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
like Sherlock is great.
Like, I know I saw commercials for
I
it,
mean,
whether I watched
Sir
it or
Arthur
not.
Conan Doyle was a fucking
He was
genius.
a class act.
Oh, yeah, but he's also a fucking genius because I couldn't think of the shit. Because, Sherlock's sitting there deducing or whatever the fuck you want to call it, all these people, whatever, I don't fucking know.
You had it right.
That's coming out of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's mind, so he's so he's like, you cheated on your wife, didn't you? He's like, what? He's like, well, you got this on your fucking sleeve and this on your pants and your hair.
Oh my God! Psych is just like a remake. Of Sherlock.
Oh yeah.
Holmes.
You just look at someone.
My dad and I love Psych. Now I get it because my dad loves Sherlock Holmes.
Right.
It's a modern.
It's gotta be. I haven't seen it, but like.
That's what Sean does. Sean has like photographic memory.
Right.
He's amazing at deduction because his dad was a cop and he raised Sean to be like cop brain, right? So like one of their games when they went out to like places was like he'd have him close his eyes and then ask him some random question and see if Sean could like how many people in the bar are wearing hats.
And it would test
how observant he was. It was his powers of observation.
Oh yeah, the powers.
Yeah, so Sean pretends he's a psychic. That's why the show's called Psych. And he pretends to be a psychic, and he'll do stuff like... But he's not.
He's fucking scamming people.
Yes, exactly. Okay. He'll be like, you're married, aren't you? I see the line from the wedding ring. Oh, you're recently divorced then, that kind of shit.
Or perhaps you lost your wedding ring.
Right, and he's like,
Either way, your marriage doesn't mean shit to you.
And he uses what he knows of the situation and like visual cues, and then he pretends to be a psychic, and he'll be like, oh, I'm getting a hit.
Oh my god, I've got to watch
yes,
this.
It's such a great show. It's on Prime.
Okay.
It is on Prime.
I thought I saw it on Prime. I'll have to see it.
Psych.
So who's the main character?
Sean. I don't remember.
No, I
Sean's
mean the
last
actor.
name.
Do I know him?
Fucking know.
Okay, it's not like Monk or anything like that.
No,
I do not like
Tony
that guy.
Shalhoub. I love Monk. But anyway, Monk's another thing my dad and I like to watch again. But again, like, yeah, my dad has whatever. Anyway,
I feel like I'm good at that spiritually, like empathically. I can kind of look at someone and get vibes like, really? But like that does not the same as like visual cues, you know what I mean?
Same, 1,000,000% same.
Like, that made you uncomfortable, didn't it? How do you know that made me uncomfortable? I just know. You know, you can't say that.
I can feel it.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, like, you can't. Yeah, you can't. Well,
Anyway.
you can say it, but people look at you funny. So
Right,
you
exactly.
Just learn
My husband, oh my god, I'm constantly, I can't help it, I'm constantly, and I'm like, I know this is how you feel. He's like, you don't know anything. And I'm like, you can't lie to me. You can't lie to me.
I can feel it.
You can't lie to a fucking empath. You can't.
It's like a feeling.
Right, exactly.
Like entire being.
Like,
I don't know. I can't.
It's crazy. Anyway, I'm curious if anybody else is like that. Point is, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
Super cool.
Super cool and a fucking very smart man. Smart man, but he's also a spiritualist, which is crazy. I feel like I heard that a long time ago. But now, like, I guess I forgot about it because reading up on it, it's like, oh shit, he is, which is so funny because in his novels,
everything
doesn't scientific. It's extremely scientific.
It seems supernatural. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
It seems supernatural, but it comes down
to science.
Yeah, he gives it a realistic explanation.
Like the Hounds of Baskerville.
And I wonder if for him, that's the fiction of it.
Maybe. Oh my gosh. So the point
Did we understand? Should we Ouija and ask you that question?
Oh my god.
I'm just kidding.
It's like, watch Sherlock. You know, he'll tell you.
Is the key to what we said in there? Because that was.
Oh my god! Stop, Amber. Okay. So anyway, he gets it somehow. I don't remember. I guess like that's when they start like publishing or people start like.
No. Okay. So
how does
he has been. He's all into this stuff anyway.
Right, occult,
and he's been asked to write an article for the Strand Magazine, which is some magazine in England that ran from like the 1890s to the 1960s or 1980s. Damn, yeah. Nice. Like, it had a long running. And so, you know, it was a well-established magazine at this point, right? Because we're at 1920 at this point when Sir Arthur Conan Doyle arises, I think. And he's doing this article on fairies, and I think during his article on fairies that he's researching for maybe, or while he's writing it,
or something?
Or somebody tells him about it.
Okay, so he sent some guy named Gerald, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Is it Gerald or is it Jarnal? I swear Gerald, there was an N. I swear there was.
Maybe in the last name?
Maybe.
Because Gerald does seem... I remember seeing the name Gerald, but then I was like, which article? Was it this one or this one?
What?
You know, like, too many names. If I don't write it down... That's why I had to write the names for the last episode down, because they all get... jumbled,
right?
Yeah.
Right. So he goes down and sees the girls. And at this point, they're like, oh, yeah, it's totally real. You know, here you could argue... Well, these are little girls, and there's a famous fucking... Sherlock Holmes was in the paper for a while. You know what I mean? Yeah. This guy is famous.
Yeah.
And he believes me. Mm-hmm. So do I continue the lie? Assuming it's a lie. So they go along, and they're like, yeah, totally. Like,
right. And what I found funny about, like, this part that you're talking about right now is in one of the things that I read about this story, that the girls said... They thought he was faking, the Gerald guy, when he was like, I see the fairies, and they said they didn't see any fairies that day when they were with him, and he's like, I see them everywhere.
Bitch, you didn't see
taking
them.
Pictures. And they were like, he was such a faker, but we went along with him because...
Does he really fucking see fairies, or was he trying to, like...
Right. I don't know.
I would believe the girls...
Or did he want to believe so much that he did?
I would believe the girls over that Gerald guy any day. I'm not gonna lie. That Gerald guy seems like a fucking liar.
Well, and the thing with the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's inclusion that I like is when he wrote the article, I think before he sent the photographer, or it was after, I'm not sure which, he talked to the Wright, like Mr. and Mrs. Wright, and he was asking them for permission to use the photos, like the previous photos, the ones that already existed at this point. The first, what was it, 3 or 4 of them that already existed?
I think it was 3.
Okay. The ones that already existed at this point, he was requesting permission from them to use these photos for his article because he truly believed that 100% that they were real. And Mr. Wright, who was dubious of the pictures, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle believing the pictures made him less dubious. And he said, sure, you can use them, but refused payment because he didn't want money to taint anything if they were real pictures.
Damn. But nowadays, they sold for over $20,000.
Oh my God. Yeah, like each of them. Each,
yes.
Like, was it the original
glass,
whatever?
Yes.
That you could make more prints from.
Over $20,000.
Yeah,
I think
they
it was
paid a lot of money because
$20,600.
they're going to make some reproductions. They're going to sell them.
Right. Well, but it's also like, damn, like, this is yeah. I don't know. They are definitely worth the money, in my opinion. I mean, but
I think people will spend a ridiculous amount of money on things. I personally think it's ridiculous, but I personally think a lot of things that people will spend that much money on, that's ridiculous. Like, like, it's so ridiculous. I'm not saying they're not valuable.
Right.
I just think that spending that much money on that kind of an item is insane to me. I'm also incredibly frugal in my life. Like, I'm a very frugal person. So, spending $500, $5,000, okay, $20,000
on a single photo. Bitch, they made me real fairy photos. But am I one of those? Maybe I'm one of those.
Even if they are, I still think we spend, like, these are all my own personal beliefs. And I just think we, like, spend ridiculous amounts of money on things like, so to me, it's like, I think they are valuable. Right. But I think, like, people are ridiculous for being, like... Because they were sold at auction, right? So they started...
Well, that means there was a bunch of rich-ass people there anyway.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they start at some point. You know, everybody expected it to sell for, like, 1,200 pounds or some shit
Oh, my God, I have a problem. I was just like, damn, I wish I could sell at an auction. And then I was like, Maddie, that's sex trafficking. That's not funny. Because I was like, damn, I wish I could sell for $20,000. That was a blonde fucking moment.
No, it's so funny because it speaks to
damn, I wish.
I think I've told you off camera, so I'm not gonna.
Oh my God,
that's so funny.
You know, sometimes I catch myself thinking some dumb ass shit.
But I mean, okay, like, look. Maybe they probably don't have them anymore because it's probably viewed as, like, really sexist, but, like...
They did! The kisses and the dating!
I was gonna say, if you ever watched, like, Saved by the Bell or whatever, like, they'd auction off, like, dates with somebody, like, so the
they
popular
did it on Full
guys...
House, but it was the dads. It was Jesse and, you know, Joey and...
Like, on Saved by the Bell, like, Zach and Screech and AC Slater, they all...
But they all went to charity.
Right,
I want the money.
And I mean, like, honestly, they did an episode where the guys and they did an episode where the girls, so, like, from that standpoint, I guess it's not sexist because everybody was auctioned off at some point. But
those
from the standpoint
weird.
of being auctioned off, it is kind of weird.
Right.
It is for charity. It was, you know, the episodes, they were, like, the things were for charity. The funds went to charity. And then there's always the awkward moment in those things where, like, 2 people are fighting over somebody.
Oh, right.
And, like, it's like the one guy has been, like, hired or asked by the person being auctioned, like, please do not let so-and-so
I know, right?
It's like, always
that always happens. And then they're like, $1,000. They're like, bro, I can't go anymore.
Right, exactly.
This guy's going to
like,
get you.
Sorry, you're stuck with stuff. And it's like, No.
Right? Okay, so that is a trope
Yes,
then. That is so funny. Because I remember on Full House when it was the dad, I think it was Danny who was like, help, help. And then there was like some old ass lady and she was like...
And doesn't old Becky step up and start like bidding on him, but then she runs out of money?
Yeah, she's like, sorry, man.
Sorry, dude. You're on your own, talk show host.
I don't think they do that anymore. They were, weren't they?
I am not Danny Tanner. I don't think you are either, though.
I don't know.
We're both on Becky.
Yeah. Well, we both get Uncle Jesse, so... I mean actual Uncle Jesse. I'm not referring to our husbands. I'm just saying if we're both Aunt Becky, we both get
Uncle Jesse.
What is his name?
John Stamos.
John Stamos.
Uncle Jesse.
He's actually like a dick.
Is he?
Yeah.
Tell me that.
He tried to get the Olsen twins fired. Like
That's right,
so
you did
many
tell me
times,
that.
yeah.
But I hate the Olsen twins.
Well, because they kept screaming on set. They were not good babies. They'd be like, like Theodore. And he's like, I can't work with them. Which is so funny. That means he's such a great actor. Because they had amazing chemistry.
They had such amazing chemistry.
Like, they really did.
And he was like, pretend it's a kid you like.
Yeah, right? They're like, I can't stand you.
He's such a good actor. He can do it.
I love Full House. When Uncle Jesse's like thinking about moving out after he gets married and he's like a single man tear.
Oh my
God, that's Uncle Jesse, don't go.
I loved Aunt Becky until, like, I loved Becky's character until they were getting married. And I was like, no! You can't take Uncle Jesse away!
Right? I think everybody had a crush on Uncle Jesse.
Oh, right? I'm sure.
I mean, damn, he came in with a fucking mullet on a motorcycle. Who wouldn't love that?
I had a crush on Danny Tanner? Is that weird?
No, did you? That is weird.
I did.
That is weird.
Huge.
You know,
he was a dilf.
Really? Are you serious? That's so funny.
I like him tall.
I guess you're right. Brown hair.
So, yeah. And I mean...
And they tried to pass him as fucking 29
Oh, my God! I know, we talked about that.
Oh, my... Point is, where were we?
So, we were talking about the... Okay, so Sir Arthur Conan Doyle comes in. They don't want money. I don't know how we
were talking about auctioning, and then we got to auctioning off people, and there was an episode of Full House. You know, that's like I feel like we get like ADHD.
Yeah,
like,
but that's what the show's about.
Yeah,
I've said
right.
that like so many times.
That's part of the charm of the podcast.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's our charm. Charming darling.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, missing
like,
out on a bunch of money.
Yeah. Well, but I mean. Remember the Alien episode, and I said I believe those people
that didn't want
the money, mm-hmm. and so from that standpoint with Mr. Wright, like I respect the hell out of him for mm-hmm. that because he's like, I'm dubious of these photos, but I don't want them tainted by money. So if you want to use them, you can use them.
Well, and then was it after this that it just kind of blew the fuck up in England?
For a little while, yeah.
Everybody
like, were looking for fairies.
Right.
And,
absolutely.
Then by 1921, it died down again.
Right.
Because, like, the girls, they produced the last fairy photo. Mm-hmm. And then...
That was the one that...
that was the one that Frances, to her deathbed, said was the real photo.
So... I want to talk about, before we go on, the fact that so many adults were willing to believe this. We gotta understand, it was the middle of World War I. People were dying. Yeah. England was not in good shape. I don't know I don't know what the fuck was going on.
You want to believe in
something beautiful and innocent and good.
And something beyond the current here and now, right? Yes. Because if fairies exist, then heaven exists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Everything.
That makes perfect sense. Like,
absolutely.
if this is real, then this is probably real too. Mm-hmm. So in a time,
No, it's okay.
In a time where, I'm just like trying to be conscientious of the coffee. In a time where you have a lot of loved ones that are dying, you have neighbors that you never see again. You want to believe that everything you've been taught growing up in, because, I mean, let's face it, it's 1914 through 1918 England. Yeah, you're Christian. Mm-hmm. So you've been taught about heaven your whole life. You want to believe that. Mm-hmm. And when you have mass death, it's the time where a lot of people have doubts. So fairies existing means magic is real, which makes... the Christian Bible, makes so much sense. You know what I mean? If all of it exists, then heaven's got to be a real thing.
Yep.
and your loved ones that died on the battlefield, they're okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
exactly.
It's easier.
Well, and then you see beauty in the world again because you're seeing fairies. It's real, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It gives you something to hold on to.
Exactly.
And like,
so there was
also,
a
like,
huge
faith in more. It gives you faith in more. If fairies exist, which you discounted your whole life, what else is real?
Right, exactly.
And that's a beautiful thought right there. For anybody that has doubts ever, like, I think they can understand when I say, like, having belief is it is a pure feeling. Mm-hmm. It really is. So having something to believe in and having
evidence backed up by these are not doctored photos.
Exactly. And like the community was torn, right? Like a lot of people believed and a lot of people said this is bullshit.
Right.
But in the end, there are people out in the countryside looking for fairies.
Absolutely.
There are people trying to take their own fairy pictures. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I'm just going to be that guy and say, especially once we hit 1920, because the war is over, you're not putting yourself in danger by being outside. What is wrong with being out in nature, even if it is because...
To find fairies.
Yeah.
Well, I think the problem comes with humans as a whole, because while they were out there, I'm sure they were fucking trashing shit. Leaving their trash,
Well,
you know?
I like to believe, in like that time frame, there was a lot less prepackaged shit.
Right.
So I like to believe there wasn't as much trash litter left, but still fucking up the environment by not caring about the plants, breaking branches, messing up like fox dens,
animals,
birds' nests.
Humans are an invasive species. We are, you know. I guess that's a good way to put it. And so for a very long time, both girls said that they were absolutely real. You know, and then there came a time when Elsie said, oh no, they were fake.
Yeah, in the 60s, there was, interest was rejuvenated. People were interested again, and some reporter reached out to Elsie in 1966, and that's when she was like, no, they were cardboard cutouts. They were fake. Prior to that, she had always maintained that they were real.
Right, exactly. So what made her change?
I don't know. Like, I wonder...
I'm curious.
You know, I'm curious, too. Like, did she grow up and as an adult go, that must have been childhood fantasy? Did she grow up and go, people think I'm insane. I'm going to stop saying that these were fairies. Or is there something else?
Right.
And then I go... also, is it possible that... She said, there's a quote that she said, they're not real. I took pictures of what was in my imagination. Like, there's a quote that's what she said.
Huh.
And I love that because, like, did she? Did she manage? What does that mean? Does that mean she colored them out? That's from her imagination. She drew it. She colored it. They're all cardboard cutouts. Or... is it more like her way of saying, like, I summoned the fairies, I brought them into existence with my mind, and I took pictures of them. But she's saying it in a way that's not what you hear. Does that make sense?
Exactly. It sounds very purposely said that way, in my opinion.
Yes.
Now, Frances, on the other hand, I think she admitted some of them were fake, but she went to her deathbed swearing that at least one of the photos, the last photo, was real.
Right.
Now, I can't imagine somebody keeping to a lie after admitting all the other ones. On your deathbed, there's no problem. There's no reason to lie on your deathbed.
No, and I don't
People
understand
admit to murders. People admit to shit like you would not believe on their deathbed. Yeah. Why would she be so staunch
in refusing to say that last one was fake? I don't understand.
And it looks the realest to me, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah, and we went through them, and like I told Maddie, and I'll tell you guys, and then you can look at these pictures for yourself and see what you think. But I at first didn't believe them, but then I looked at them, and I blew them up, And they have a translucent quality, the fairies do. You can see some of the grasses through them. How could a 16-year-old girl manipulate anything in that manner?
Now, there is one that looks extremely fake, and I'll say that's the first one taken.
Yeah, it does.
It
does look like cardboard cutouts.
But for me, it's the gnome. I think the gnome looks so real.
Well, see, for me, the next two, numbers 3 and 4, they look so real to me. Like, they look so real. It's
I get, like when they explained that she
cartoons.
was... Well, when she explained she was ducking out of the way because the fairy had jumped up, I see it now.
Yeah.
It makes sense. And the fact that the professional photographer, and even professional photographers nowadays, I'm sure many people have continued to look over them.
Yeah.
Has said the fairies are moving in those photos. Like, you can see where the movement is in the way the light and the photos take. How the fuck are cardboard cutouts moving unless it's a breeze?
Again, and how is a cardboard cutout gonna be translucent?
That makes
fucking
no
cardboard.
sense, right?
It's not translucent.
So
even if it was colored paper, how translucent could it be to look the way it does?
Right.
Like, I just
a
don't
wet
understand.
paper that would fall apart.
Right, it would fall apart. Yeah.
So my theory on the subject, and we have a couple,
Yeah.
is that if the photos are fake, all of them, let's assume, I still believe they saw the fairies. I still believe they played with the fairies. But there was no proof, and nobody would believe them otherwise if they didn't create some form of truth. There's always a little truth in a lie.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not true. But you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. No, I get that. So I'm going to start with what I think is the most plausible, but I don't necessarily believe it to be true. To me, the most plausible explanation, and I've already told you, but I'm obviously going to discuss it for the podcast. I feel the most plausible explanation to be, for whatever her reason was, Elsie's the 16-year-old, and her 9-year-old cousin comes to live with her while her father is fighting in World War I.
Yes.
Which is pretty much terrorizing everybody who lives in a country that's involved. So, you know, it's a bad time for everybody, and you've got the 16-year-old and her 9-year-old cousin comes to town, and maybe Frances has never heard of fairies because she grew up in South Africa. So there's not necessarily anybody that's going to tell her fairy lore if her mom's not into fairies, right? So then she comes to England, where her 16-year-old cousin Elsie, maybe Elsie's really into fairies. And so Elsie's like, what can I do to cheer up my cousin who, like, has no friends here, and she's not in her own country, and her dad might die any moment? How can I cheer her up? And so she creates this wonderful fairy world for Frances out of her own imagination and what she believes and what she sees, right? So Frances, who's 9 years old and, like, in this new country and hearing about fairies for the first time, I'm like, how fucking cool is that? The first time you hear about fairies. Can you remember, like, can you guys remember the first time you heard about fairies? It's kind of a magical experience.
Oh, absolutely.
When you think about these tiny little, like, creatures. Some of them have wings, some of them don't.
Right.
But, like, they're just, like, so magical. And, like, it introduces so much magic.
Because for the children, focus on the happier aspects of
Exactly. So, like, and Elsie's just like, I'm going to create this magical world for Frances and make her feel better in this time of life that's really hard. And then, you know, whether the fairies in the pictures are cardboard cutouts that Elsie, or that Frances is aware are fake or not, you know, she's the one that maintains they're true because she was so young. In her memory, it's always going to be real because Elsie made it real for her.
So
I don't think that's the truth, but I think that's the most plausible explanation.
I think it could also work spiritually as well, because I'm a big believer in you manifest what you believe.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe it started out as a game and the fairies started to manifest.
Yeah.
But I'm a firm believer in the bad way that can work too. Maybe, oh my God, there's a monster in my closet. There's a monster in my closet. You keep focusing on that energy is going to manifest into an actual monster or spirit in your closet.
Yeah.
So that same mindset, oh, these are fairies. These fairies are real. You create your own reality.
Yeah.
So as a spiritual person, if that's true, I still believe they were playing with real fairies. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and as I told you, you know, my belief systems are both anything is possible and perception is reality. So I totally believe that any kind of nature spirit is possible. I truly believe this is because of my Slavic ancestry. I believe of speaking things into existence.
Right.
That's why there's certain things I won't talk about, because
all the other people manifesting the fairies. I'm sorry, like all that energy, just manifesting it, like speaking it into, like you were saying, writing it, because there's so many articles.
Right, exactly. They become real. Exactly, they become real. You can speak things into existence, but also like anything's possible, and perception is reality. So if you are seeing fairies out in your life, like, how can you say that those aren't real?
Right, exactly.
Like, just like, I mean, when you walk into a space in the forest, or when we've been on our nature walks, and you just come upon that tree and you feel that energy, and you're just like, fairies live here. That's a fairy portal right there. Like, perception is reality. And additionally, from that same standpoint of thinking, if perception is reality, and what we perceive are messages from the universe, then if you perceive that fairies are there, that's because the universe is giving you that signal that you're feeling fairies if you're open to it.
Right. So, for me to recap, I totally believe the girls, one way or another.
Right.
Whether the photography is true or not, I believe them. I do.
That's where I'm at.
And I'm curious curious if you believe them, and or if you think the whole thing was full of shit, or if you think me and Amber's full of shit are kind of crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Like, my only dubious place is, are all the pictures real or not?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And then we looked at the color ones, and like I said, they seem to be glowing.
Right, and translucent.
They do.
Right.
How can you fake that as a 16-year-old girl in 1970?
I have no idea.
I just don't see it.
There's no Photoshop.
Look at the pictures. Tell us what you think. We want to know.
Right. And the pictures will be on our Instagram at Witches Talking Tarot.
Yes.
You
can tell us your thoughts on the story on Twitter at Classiest Witches.
Right. Or or comment on this YouTube video that you're watching. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll have more exciting videos as well in the future.
And to get your own Patreon shout out, just like
Dallin and Melissa.
Hey guys.
Hey guys.
Check out our Patreon and become a patron. We give extra content. We give behind the scenes.
Yes, you're going to get guided meditation soon.
Yes, exactly. You get stickers and keychains depending on the level you sign up for. And you help this podcast be better.
Yes.
So,
all right. See you guys.
Have a great one. We appreciate you, and we appreciate you coming to sit with us for a spell.
Yes.